Indiana Fever versus the Minnesota Lynx. The Fever fought despite being down 5 players. Let's see how they did it. Let's get into it. We are not surprised at the way the Indiana Fever fought through the game with the Minnesota Lynx. They are a fighting team. The Indiana Fever, if nothing else, they are a fighting team. They are a resilient team. This we do know. But we also know that the Minnesota Lynx is the top team and they play top basketball. They're not perfect. However, they play top basketball. And it seems like when other teams are winded or other teams have lost, their wherewithal to follow through, the Minnesota Lynx gets better as the game goes on. They actually, if it's not McBride, it's going to be Shepard. It's going to be one of those players who's going to step up and do some major scoring, some major defense. So we know that the Minnesota Lynx is not a team to play with. And I believe that the Indiana Fever also knew not to play with the Minnesota Lynx in terms of don't underestimate them for any reason. This is why the Indiana Fever played well in the first half. They did play well in the first half. And we're going to go into some more of that. And in the second half, specifically the third, going into the fourth, is where the defense of the Fever started to decline. It started to go down. So let's get into some of the quarters and then to the scoring. Okay, so we have, in the first quarter, we have Minnesota 22, Indiana 27. So Indiana is doing well. We have Lexie Hull and we have Mitchell who are going off. All right, specifically Lexie, who's going off in this first quarter. Quarter number 2, 28, Minnesota, 25, Indiana. They're still pretty close together, going neck and neck. And again, Lexie Hull is being more dominant, being more aggressive on the floor. She's really going after it, knowing that they're down, by 5 injured players who are not on the team, who are not playing. And so she actually took the team on her back and went after it. So did Mitchell. And then the third quarter, 32 Minnesota and 17 Indiana. Here, McBride, you cannot leave McBride open for 3-point shots because once she gets started and she gets hot, it's almost like butter, spreading butter. She will go and just like pop it up like it's nothing and get a 3-pointer, like she's not even looking, okay? And so the Indiana Fever have to find a way to stifle McBride, to confuse McBride, to upset McBride, to throw McBride off kilter. And this is what has to happen in their next game on Sunday. If not, McBride's going to be popping those 3-pointers one after another. She's lethal, okay? And they have to have an answer for McBride. Also with Shepard could get into the paint and make those buckets, all right, with no problem, okay, with no problem. She has the height and she has the skill, okay? She can also make 3-pointers. So you got to watch her on the perimeter and in the inside. They got to have an answer for Shepard. She was hot in this game, okay? In the fourth quarter, it was 13-21. Again, the Fever even though they played well to the end, even though they had heart to the end, even though they did not give up at the end, despite being down 5 players, they hung in there. They tried their best, but the Minnesota Lynx outplayed them, and the score was 95-90 Lynx. Again, I can't stress enough how it's so important to be watching. You got to watch the ball for sure. If you're a player, you got to watch the ball, but you got to watch the players as well. You cannot leave McBride open. You cannot leave Shepard open. You cannot leave Hiedelmann open. Hiedelmann will come in with some speed and crash the paint, and she will also get 3-pointers. Okay? Their team is riddled with people who can get 3-pointers. They can't afford, the Indiana Fever cannot afford to leave any player unchecked. They got to disrupt their whole game from start to finish. And they got to be on point. They got to play the best basketball that they've ever played when they face the Minnesota Lynx. That's the only way that they're going to win on Sunday. Okay? They can't let their defense lack at all. They got to be up on them in their face. They got to be like faster than them. They got to be thinking before they think. They got to be on it in order to win the game against the Minnesota Lynx. And see, the Lynx, they're a confident team. They're confident about what they're doing. They don't want to, they win. They've lost some games, but if they win on Sunday, it's going to be their 30th game to win. All right? So they can't afford to the Fever can't afford to be lackadaisical and to get tired and to be whatever. If they really want to win over the Lynx, they got to play better ball over the Lynx, better defense over the Lynx, better offense over the Lynx, more confidence than the Lynx have. They got to spread the floor. They got to be fast-paced basketball, the kind of basketball that Indiana Fever plays well, fast-paced. And they got to be on their job. If not, they will lose again to the Minnesota Lynx. Minnesota Lynx, like I said, they're confident going in. They've been winning. They've been chewing up their opponents left and right. Okay? And McBride, with those 3-pointers, just boom, boom, boom. She's off the charts. Shepard, off the charts. Hiedelmann, off the charts. Williams. And they did all of this with Collier not in the game because she's been sitting out because of an injury. Okay? So imagine if she was in the game, what would be happening? Right? And likewise, the Fever have been down by 5 players. The most recent one is Bibby, who had some sort of injury during a practice. All right? And so she wasn't there. She wasn't able to be utilized. So it's 5 players. And they have, Sims, new point guard. Peddy, new point guard. Peddy went off too the first quarter. All right, she was like getting those 3-pointers back to back. Good on her. Her defense was good as well. But the Indiana Fever's got to get better at doing what they do best, and they can't be lacking in any area, really. If the Indiana Fever could just hang in there every single quarter by quarter, all right, play by play, and really let themselves own that court against the Minnesota Lynx, they could win. They've won the Minnesota Lynx against the Minnesota Lynx in the championship, Commissioner's Championship Cup. Okay, granted, they had players that are not playing right now. Okay, but they need to know that they can beat them. They need to know that they have more in them individually and collectively than they think they do. Now it's time to let out that beast to beat the Minnesota Lynx. All right? Okay, the Lynx. Shepard had 22 points. All right. Field goals were 10 of 11. She had 10 assists. This is Shepard, Jessica Shepard. McBride, 29 points. Field goals, 10 of 19. Three-pointers, 4 of 8. Okay. Free throws, 5 of 5. Assists, 6. And then Hiedelmann, 17 points off the bench. 17 points off the bench. Hiedelmann. Okay? She had 6 of 10 field goals, 2 of 2 3-pointers, 3 of 3 free throws, 2 rebounds off the bench. Now, Indiana Fever, the high scorers were Lexie Hull, 23 points. 23 points. Field goals, 9 of 16. Three-pointers, 4 of 7. Okay? Free throws, 1 of 1. And 2 assists. 4 rebounds. 2 steals. Kelsey Mitchell, 27 points. 9 of 20 field goals. 5 of 7 three-pointers. 4 of 6 free throws. 5 assists. Shea Peddy, I just want to mention Shea Peddy. She had 10 points. 3 of 4 field goals, 3 of 4 three-pointers, 1 of 2 free throws. 4 assists. She did pretty good for the first game with the Fever. And then, of course, Aaliyah Boston, 15 points. 7-9 field goals, 1 of 2 free throws, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Now, team stats. Minnesota, 55.9 field goal percentage. Indiana, 54.8. Free throw percentage. 3-point percentage. 42.9 for Minnesota, 65.0 for Indiana. Turnovers, 12 for Minnesota, 13 for Indiana. Rebounds, 30 for Minnesota, 23 for Indiana. They played at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The attendance there on this game was 15,121 people. This is the first time that the Fever have met the Minnesota Lynx in the regular season. They have 2 more meetings with the Lynx. One on this coming Sunday, 24th, and then the last one's going to be September 9th. They have 2 more chances to whoop the Minnesota Lynx behind. Okay? 2 more chances. And if they put all of what they know about the Lynx, all of what they know about themselves into practice, they can win those games. I fully believe that. Fully. Right now, in terms of the standing, Minnesota Lynx have already clinched their playoff, spot. So they're first. And the Indiana Fever are in the 6th position as I speak in the time of this taping. They're at 19-17. Minnesota's at 29-7. So the Indiana Fever have got to win this game on Sunday. They got to win the next of the games if they want to do what they want to do in the playoffs. And just an aside, the Indiana Fever have signed Aerial Powers to a 7-day hardship contract. A 7-day hardship contract to Aerial Powers. She has played with the Minnesota Lynx in the past, I think for a couple of seasons. So she has some inside, get to know of the Minnesota Lynx. Hopefully that'll help the Fever in Sunday's game. So there you have it. In a nutshell, the Minnesota Lynx played as they always played. And when you have 17 points coming off the bench, you got to be watched. You got to be really taken, to be taken serious. When you have your starters, making, you know, bucket after bucket and are playing extraordinary on the court. And then you have your bench come up with 17 points. One player, Hiedelmann. That's a bad team, and bad meaning good. Now the Fever are a good team. The Fever are a solid team. They have some injuries that they're laden with, and that's tough on the team. And considering all that, they are persevering. They are, being resilient. They are doing their best. But now they got to take it up a step higher with their defense. It's got to be solid for Sunday. They can't be turning over the ball. They can't be sleeping on the job when the Minnesota Lynx are on the court. They have to play with complete confidence in themselves and their team. And they have to be able to look at the ball, but also do not take your eye off of McBride or Shepard or Hiedelmann or Williams. Do not do it. And if Collier plays, please don't take your eye off Collier because she can score wherever she wants. So, all that said, what are your thoughts about the game between the Indiana Fever and the Minnesota Lynx? What are your thoughts about what has to happen next time on Sunday for the Indiana Fever to win? Let me know in the comment section. My name is Barbara, around the WNBA and other sports. Thank you for joining me. And, hey, if you haven't already, this is a really great time for you to come on and subscribe. You got it, subscribe. Love to have you as part of the team over here, part of the community over here. All right. And you know what? We're gonna root for the Indiana Fever no matter what. We love the Indiana Fever. That is my team. That is your team. We're gonna always have their back, no matter what. So go Fever. Go Fever. And hey, don't forget when you do subscribe to also give me a thumbs up because that also helps me out. And tap the bell so that you'll be notified of new content. All that said, go Fever, peace, and blessings.